Hi, I'm Reneé. Thank you for being here with me. I wanted to talk to you about my second book, the book that I'm working on currently. It is an autofiction book, which is a blend of autobiography and fiction, which means that I will be using my name for the protagonist, but when talking about the book, I'm gonna say she. A lot of it is fictional. There are aspects that are not fictional, obviously, because of the autobiographical element. That's just the way that it is. For me personally, I am writing a book about my basketball career through high school and college. That is the part that I want to keep the most accurate, just because I have never really interacted with any sports for women, any sports media that really like grabbed me, and because it's the same portrayal all the time, right? It's like, oh, someone has potential, but something's happening at home or something, and they're not I don't know. It's something about it, like, something about it never fully rang true to me. Definitely as a thing, like, it is true. I know people that have had those experiences, whatever, but for me, I just wanted to see a little something different and add my voice to the pot, or whatever. So that's what I'm writing about. And it's mostly, so it's about, I'm looking at notes. So if I'm looking down, I wrote some notes so that I kind of stay on track. Anyway, so I don't know. I like the idea of autofiction. It feels really like you're really towing the line, right? It's because it's almost like you're reading a book. The author has their name in it. What is true? What's not? And it's totally, you have no idea. That line is blurred so much. And I feel like that is really exciting. And I just feel, I don't know, it's kind of like you're peeking behind the curtain, but you don't know if what you're seeing is a mirage or not, and I think that's really fun. So it's following my basketball career and also my love life, essentially. Okay, we're not gonna do mine. So it's about a girl playing basketball, and also on the flip side of her life, she's constantly looking for her soulmate. And in the midst of all of that, essentially just validation in general. So she has issues with drugs and alcohol and things like that. So it's just watching this girl's tumultuous life, and basketball and writing are her anchors. It's something that she always has to do. And so, yeah. So we already went over what autofiction is, but in case you wanted like some touchstones, or you want to check some out yourself, the ones that I have read are by Bret Easton Ellis, who is one of my favorite authors. And he wrote two that I have nearby. Always have Bret Easton Ellis nearby. Correct. Let's see. Okay. He wrote two. I can't remember if I showed you these in my last video, but Lunar Park, The Shards. They are both autofiction because he is the protagonist. Like I said, his name is Bret. Bret is the main character. But you can see some moments where you're like, okay, this is obviously like he was having a ball. Basically, he was having a great time. If you don't know, Bret Easton Ellis wrote American Psycho. It's probably his most famous work. So if you can imagine that type of artist, like who would create something like that, his autofiction is very wild and fun. He's the best. He's just the best. Anyways, so those were the two autofictions that I read that it just kind of sparked something like, oh my God, this is so fun. He's just using his own stuff. He's using some of his own life, and it was just so fascinating to me. But I didn't know what, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to write about. And then recently I was like, oh, let's just write about whatever. Anyways, so next, let's see, what did we tackle next? Okay, so logistically, how am I going to write this book? So, I have 3 kids. I have 3 little boys. They're 4.5, 2.5, and 7 months old. So they're all just about 2 years apart. So things are hectic, right? They're hectic. And I only get so many chunks of time throughout the day. They're not always at the exact same time of day where I can work, where I can write, where I can make videos, where I can work on other things that I'm bringing to the world. So my bare minimum, which I think I heard from Amy McNee talk about, you just need a bare minimum. And I think her bare minimum was like 250 words or something like that. So she shows up every single day and will write her fiction for 250 words of her fiction a day. And she's written, I think, like 4 or 5 books that way. And it sounds so simple, right? 250 words is really not that crazy of an amount, but every single day clocking in and just doing it, it's like, oh, then suddenly you have a manuscript, suddenly you have a whole world that you've built. So that's my goal, is to tuck into it for 15 minutes, because sometimes I'm here alone with the 7-month-old and his naps will literally be 29 minutes on the dot. And so I'm like, okay, if I can just give myself a second to like center and forget about the fight for my life I may have just had for the last however many hours, and trying to put him to sleep, and then just show up for 15 minutes, even if it's just like, scrolling through what I've written, or trying to plan out something, or working through an issue I'm having. That is all well and good. Even if it's sitting in my Akashic Records for 15 minutes, just brainstorming, thinking, feeling out the book and things like that, which I'll also go into in a second. That counts. It all counts. As long as my mind is on it, then it's like, oh, you did a great job. You did a great job. And so that's what I'll be doing. And so I mentioned my Akashic Records, which, if you don't know what that is, it is an energetic like library of all that is, and that has always been in existence, which sounds kind of big and scary, but it's really beautiful. Just it's a record of everything that has ever happened to you, to me, to everyone on the planet or in the world, the universe, whatever. And you can experience a lot of healing in the records, which was originally why I became so interested in the Akashic Records, so that I could ask certain questions about just my life patterns that were showing up that I was having a hard time working through. Even things that my kids were going through, I was able to ask about and get guidance on that, and help with a lot of different issues. And then I realized you can use the Akashic Records for your creativity. Like, you can use it for whatever you're making. And lo and behold, I also found out that I was unconsciously tapping into my Akashic Records while writing, which makes so much sense. Because sometimes, you're writing or you're painting or whatever kind of art you make. I'm assuming you're a writer because you're here. But when you're writing and then all of a sudden you're like, holy, I just wrote 3 pages or whatever it is. And it's almost like no time passed at all. And, whatever you believe in, this is what I believe in. It's like your channel is open, right? Your channel is open and it's just coming out. It's just flowing through you. You're in the flow, and it's you, but it's also more than you that's working through you. And so when I realized the connection between creativity and the Akashic Records, I was like, oh, okay, I want to do more of this. So I'm getting certified to do like readings and things like that, which is so exciting and like nerve-wracking, whatever. But how I've been using it daily for months is I open my records and I write my book, or I open my records and I ask questions about my book. So most recently I was stuck and I had a little reading done for me and I asked for guidance around my book. I was like, I feel stuck, and like, what are the best next steps for me to take in this book? And they said to, and the guidance you get is from your guide. So it's like your masters, teachers, and loved ones, people that have been with you forever, people that are with you for this short period of time, whatever. It's like, it's a whole different video to make. And there are plenty for you to find on YouTube already. So I'll just say your team. So your team will help give you the guidance. And so what I got was to divide it into chunks, to divide it into essentially themes, and then write each theme, and then I can compile them afterwards. And I was like, oh my gosh, duh. So for me, I was like, okay, I went back into my own records after the reading because I wanted a little bit more clarity on just like, okay, exactly where to start, because I was still feeling a little bit paralyzed by the vastness of starting a new book, as you know. And they said to start with the love theme, because a lot of emotions, a lot of things that are still in my body would be purging, basically. And that'll be a really intense experience for me to go through and write about love, thinking about this portion of my life, and that it would be necessary to get all of that energetically out, so that after that I'm like, okay, now I can go in and take away and add and do the meat and potatoes of everything, basically. And so that was very helpful for me, and that is where I'm starting now. So I'm starting with love, and I'm going through kind of each little area of love for her in this time period, and doing like the arc of each little love section. And then after that, I'll just kind of see, okay, are there any overarching themes within that theme, and that sort of thing. So that was really helpful to see it from bird's eye and then kind of shrink it down even more. So anyway, that's kind of where the basis of my channel, I think, is going to start going. In case you're wondering or interested, is using the Akashic Records, your Akashic record, which you can access by yourself at any point in time. It is your right to do so. So you can get in there and just start making stuff. Like, it's so cool, you know. And oftentimes you're writing, it's kind of solitary, or you don't necessarily have someone you can bounce ideas off of that are super aligned with what you're doing. You know, it's like you can ask for advice or whatever from friends and partners, whatever, but they only know, like, they know you well, but they're still like, when you open your Akashic Records, it's like, that is a soul connection that you just can't get anywhere else. Like, they're guiding you specifically and solely on your heart, you know, and it's all love, and you only get what is helpful for you at that time, which is just so beautiful. I could go on and on and on. I just love it so much. So anyway, I am going to do another video about going into your Akashic Records so that you can make stuff, and I'm really excited about this. It just lights me up. And it feels really woo woo, you know, but also I'm just like, I'm so over that term. Like, come on, it's not woo woo. It just is a part of life. And if you want to tap into it because you can, then you should, you know, you can. And if you need some help or a hand to hold, I'm going to be here for you to do that, because it is so cool. And I want you to experience it. That's it. I want everybody to have a taste, because it's the best. It's the best. Okay, I think that's it. So that is the introduction to my book, that I'm calling Is It You? And I'm just going to keep bringing you along on the journey and see how I'm going. And every so often, I will have videos where I open my records, and then I open your records, of course, with your permission. You need permission to open someone's records. You can't just go around willy-nilly asking, you know, whatever questions about anybody. And we're just gonna make stuff. And we're gonna write our books, and we're gonna paint our paints. We're gonna paint our works, whatever. We're gonna do the thing, and it's gonna be amazing. So thank you so much for being here, and I would love to know what you're working on and what your process is.